So, I mean, I think what was so cool is from the beginning, like we were trying to figure out, okay, who are these young people who are on their blog? Are these like all the type A personalities, head of their class, you know, like those type of people? And like we asked.
Well, you would think that anyone who is excited about a challenge, saying, you know, rebel against low expectations, you know, do hard things, do things that are challenging and difficult for you, you know, are already going to be, you know, your type A.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
Personality.
And they weren't though. They were like, you know, your average teens. You know, they were, you know, in the middle of their class.
I think of
back
Heidi,
their class.
you know, Heidi, who from Alabama, who was like super impressive when we interacted with her, but then we found out after that she was really introverted, that she didn't like to talk on the phone with even people she knew, and she was able to take this idea of rebelling against low expectations and step way outside her comfort zone, and you couldn't tell that she was the same person
Well,
anymore.
and Heidi, I remember that experience, you know, when that happened and we kind of realized, wow, look at what God can do with a shy Heidi. You know, that was where we realized this message is true. It's not just true for type A personalities. It's not just true for, you know, us, you know, Alex and Brett, who came up with this idea, you know, or started the blog. Like, no, this is true for everybody. Then that means that, you know, our whole generation is capable of so much more. And the only thing holding us back is really just the fact that we don't think we can do it. You know, we think that, you know, that's something that we'll do later, or that's not something that we're supposed to be worried about or even to care about or even understand now. You know, that's really the mentality that most young people today have. Brett and I love history. We love reading about men and women who've made a difference, changed the world forever. We love reading about how things were so different, you know, just when our parents were growing up or when our grandparents or our great-grandparents were growing up. Things have changed so much. And one of the important changes that most people don't know about is how our world has changed the way it views us, young people, teenagers. And that's something that we need to understand. Believe it or not, teenagers are a recent invention. It wasn't until 1941 in an edition of Reader's Digest that the word teenager was even used in print in America. If you go back to the year 1900, only 1 out of 10 young people between the ages of 14 and 17 attended high school. What changed? Why is it that young people in the past were being responsible, who were preparing for adulthood in such tangible ways, and now young people today, teenagers today, we're immature, we're irresponsible, we're not ready. And in fact, this is our time to have fun and goof off. What was it that made this change? Well, around the year 1900, there passed a bunch of laws, which were good laws. They were protecting young people from harsh factory conditions. They were making sure people were getting a good education. But what happened was, for the first time in history, young people were completely removed from the workforce. For the first time in history, young people were mandated to attend school through high school. And so suddenly, what had been this time when you were an adult, you began to take responsibility, you helped with your family, you helped bring in money for the family. Now, you just had this big, long vacation. We have entire industries, movies, music, food, clothing, all targeted at teens. And what has resulted is a youth culture where we're not expected to be mature, we're not expected to be responsible. Expectations are so incredibly low, and the saddest part about it is that as young people, we've continually dropped to meet those low expectations. It really reminds me of the story of the elephant of India. In India, farmers still use elephants today to do a lot of their heavy labor. They use them to pull stumps and trees out of the ground, to haul logs and carry enormous loads on their shoulders. It's a good choice because elephants are not only big, but they're incredibly powerful. They're incredibly strong. And so the obvious question is, well, how do these remote Indian farmers keep their elephants from just wandering off in the middle of the night? It turns out they don't have this problem, because all the farmer has to do is take a piece of rope, a piece of twine from his pocket, tie it around the right hind leg of the massive elephant, and attach it to a wooden post on the ground. With that, the elephant won't move from the spot. It will stay immobile throughout the night. One step and the twine would snap. One kick and the post would go flying. Why doesn't it move? The strength is there. The power is there. But something's holding it back. The answer is that it has very little to do with the piece of rope around its ankle, and it has everything to do with shackles that are around its mind. You see, when the elephant was just a baby, its owner would take it from its mother and shackle it with a heavy iron chain to a large tree. Just leave it there for days, weeks, months on end, and this baby elephant would strain and it would pull, trying to break free, and all it succeeds in doing is rubbing the shackle painfully into its leg, sometimes cutting all the way to the bone, scarring it for life. Eventually, the elephant just gives up. It accepts that it can't go anywhere when there's something around its right hind leg. So pretty soon the owner can change the chain for a rope and the tree for a post, because as soon as the now fully grown elephant feels that little tug of resistance, it gives up. There's just a piece of twine around its ankle, but there are shackles around its mind. Brett and I are convinced that our generation is just like that elephant. We're big, we're strong, we have God-given potential, and yet we're held back by a lie. We've been conditioned to believe what is false, to give up when things feel hard, to believe that these years are just supposed to be some vacation from responsibility, that being serious about our walk with God, being serious about pursuing excellence, that happens later, that doesn't happen now, this is my time. And that's a lie. If we think we're getting away with something, we're being robbed. And so what Brett and I are all about, what this series is all about, is encouraging you to recognize the myth of adolescence and say, you know what? God has a bigger plan, a bigger calling. He's given me greater potential than that. It's time to break the twine.